YouTube. This is Mahadev the Thunder Wizard, and I hope you have your suspenders on, because what I hope to do in this live stream is to perhaps expand your mind. We'll see. I wish I could express into words the psychedelic experience I'm having in reality without having taken any psychedelics. I'm going to be talking to you today. We'll see if I get into all of it. If I don't, please ask me in the live stream if I don't get to the things I say I'm going to get to, because I just don't know if I can. Some of it. We're going to be talking about differences between 3D and the 5D. I'm going to be sharing with you the one thing that keeps us trapped in 3D. And the most important understanding of how we can live in a universe with infinite numbers of timelines and yet only experience one. And what is the difference between being trapped in one timeline with a specific karmic past and a specific destiny future, and one where we live in 3D, yet the past is fluid, meaning we can rewrite the past, and the future is not set in stone either. We'll talk about those things, hopefully, if I get to it. I'm going to try and explain to you also my now new understanding between the differences between 3D, 4D, and 5D, and the difference between energy practices that up until now have been the energy practices that created enlightened beings, and what is the difference between doing those things, like the things I've got here, the Maoshan, the meditations, the other things, and this new experience that is just now breaking into our reality, that is leaps and bounds beyond all of that, but is perhaps dangerous to our three-dimensional existence. So I can tell you for myself, saying that I'm off the deep end is not even close to what is going on right now. We've been talking, since I've been teaching, we've been talking about multiple timelines, 3D, 5D, those kinds of things. And we've been talking about manifestation. And, the truth is, I've been talking about 3D and 5D and alternate timelines really just from theory. Now, I've proven it in practice. The practice is still the same. You follow your soul desire, you make a choice, you go after it. That will determine your ability to take a potential timeline and or create a new one. All of that is still true, except now I understand from an experiential standpoint what these differences are, what's going on in 5D, what's going on, and where we are headed with 5D. And anyway, why this is such an incredibly exciting time, etc., etc., etc. So, all right, let me just get to the title of the video. So the title of the video today is Shifting to 5D is blocked by doing one thing. And then I say your heart shifts to 5D and your head traps in 3D. All right, so where should I start? So there is one thing that we all do. If you're a human being, you do this, because if you didn't, you wouldn't exist. There is one thing that we do that solidifies us into 3D and can either keep us trapped in this is a good way of putting it, a deteriorating orbit. You know, like if you're in orbit around a planet and the orbit starts to deteriorate, meaning you start going towards the atmosphere and then you burn up in the atmosphere. So if you've seen people or if you've had experiences where your life has just spiraled out of control and all kinds of horrible things have happened, let's liken that to your orbit deteriorating. So the same thing, we do the same general thing that creates this deteriorating orbit in our 3D existence. And we do the same thing which creates this beautiful, perfect timeline where everything flows and is wonderful and keeps us happy and together. Let's see, what did I want here? I want that. Nope, I don't want that. Never mind. I'll just leave things the way they are. All right, so in order to get to that, let me first explain to you the different dimensions. So again, we've been talking about 5D. I haven't been talking about 5D for that long, but there's been no shortage of people on YouTube and all kinds of spiritual people and all the, you know what I mean, all the new agey blah blah blah, and people talking about shifting to 5D, and people talk about it all the time. But it's one thing to talk about it, it's another thing to actually brush up against it. It's a whole different deal. And that's my experience right now. At least I believe I'm brushing up against it. And I'm currently in a state where I had to take the past day and a half off. I may take tomorrow off as well, just because I have to sort of reconstitute my physical body because of some of the Shamanic CE5 work that I'm doing. And my human body and my human brain is having a hard time digesting the information. Nevertheless, a lot of things are coming to my understanding, which I want to share with you today. So let's first talk about the dimensions. You all know that you live in what is commonly referred to as 3 dimensions. So let's talk about all the dimensions. By the way, the Taoists actually explain dimensions in their explanation of the creation of the cosmos. The way that they say the cosmos was created is from nothing came the one. From the one came the 3. From the 3 comes the 5, and from the 5 comes infinity. Now you notice that they don't say 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. They say 1, 2, 3, 5. Why do you think they skipped 4? I'm going to explain it to you today to the best of my ability if I remember. So the 5 dimensions, we have a 0 dimension, which is a point. So on a paper, you just put a pencil, you just put a point. That is the 0 dimension. So here we've got this pick right here, so you can, maybe I should make it a little larger so you can see it. Okay, this has 2-dimensional representation of the first 5 dimensions. So on the far right, on the upper, you see just a point. That is 0 dimensions. It's just one point. You can't go in any direction anywhere. Nothing is happening. You're just stuck in one spot. 1 dimension. Okay, you go to the next one, you see 2 dots with a line through it. So 1 dimension means that you can only go forwards and backwards. You can't go up, you can't go down, you can't go to the left, you can't go to the right. So if, 1 dimension, you can only go forwards and backwards. That's it. That's all you can experience. You can't even turn around and go backwards. You can just go like that. And then 2 dimensions. By the way, each time you go up a dimension, you double the number of reference points. So from 0, you have 1 reference point. You go from 0 to 1 dimension, you have 2 reference points. You go from 1 dimension to 2 dimensions, you now have 4 reference points, which is a flat plane. So you're watching me on a screen, it's literally a 2-dimensional screen. Your brain is creating the 3rd dimension because it can figure out from the shadows on one side of the face and the other. It can create depth, but if you didn't know from 3 dimensions, you wouldn't know that my surfboard right there wasn't literally on my shoulder. You wouldn't be able to tell. But because you live in 3 dimensions, you can tell that's leaning up against the wall behind me. So that's 2 dimensions is 4 points. You can go forward, backward, left, right, but that's it. You can't go up or down. So when we go to 3 dimensions, we go to the cube on the top left, and there you have 8 reference points. So in a cube, you can go forwards, backwards, left, right, up, and down. And that's what we do every day. Now, the truth is that there is, they've got the 4 dimensions there, which is, you double that from 8 points to 16 points. But there really isn't a 4th dimension. The 4th dimension is time. So the truth is, in our 3-dimensional reality, we physically move around in 3 dimensions. But if it weren't for the 4th dimension, that we would literally be static. We wouldn't move. Because 3 dimensions are static. But then we add in time. So in order for me to move from one side of the cube to the other, that takes time. Now, what gives us a challenge in our 3-dimensional experience, we're interacting with the 4th dimension, but we're stuck in only the present. So we're not able to experience all I'm not able to sit here in my chair and experience what's going to be here in a month and what was here last month. The last tenants that were in this house are not walking past me as I'm talking in front of my computer. If the 4th dimension was really fluid in my 3 dimensions, it would be chaos. There would just be, all times would be happening at the same time. Obviously, that's not a good way to function. So we do live in 4 dimensions, but the 4th dimension is stuck in the present, and we experience time as flowing forward, but we only experience one frame at a time. Okay, got it? So that's the 4, on the bottom left there, that weird looking thing is 3 dimensions plus time. So what we are going into is the 5th dimension. So the 5th dimension you see on the bottom right, I'm not even going to try. I mean, I've watched so many videos where they've tried to show in a 2-dimensional animation what 5 dimensions are, but I can tell you that it's not like you could step into the 5th dimension and you'd be yourself and you'd be okay. I mean, it wouldn't be like that. If you were to step into the 5th dimension, I can tell you this from personal experience. If you were to step into the 5th dimension with your 3D body would come apart. Your mind would literally come apart. It would explode. You would not be able to survive it, which is why in 3D, we only hear about this when people have near-death experiences or when people have out-of-body experiences. They come back and they say, I can't really put it into words, but I was everywhere all the time. My intention took me everywhere. I could go back in time and forward in time. All I had to do was think about it and I was there. That's the 5th dimension. So if you think about, this is a good way of understanding why the 5th dimension is so, quote, toxic to 3-dimensional bodies. Because if you think about imagine living in 2 dimensions. So imagine you lived in a plane, right? So you live in a plane where you can see in front of you. You can't see above you or below you. Imagine you have like a screen that's this big. You can only see that much. And you can't see what's above you or below you or to one side or to the other. You can only see what's directly in front of you, let's say with this much of your eyes. Now, if I took a beach ball and I put the beach ball and I was going to put it from 3D into your 2D and I dropped it in front of you, you would see first this little like half moon come, and then you would see this bar. Let's say it's a red beach ball. You see this red bar that would then take up your whole vision, and then it would shrink down, and then there would be this little thing that disappeared. And you wouldn't know what the hell you were looking at. You wouldn't know where it came from or where it was going. You wouldn't understand it. You wouldn't have any idea of what it is like in 3 dimensions. So the 5th dimension is like that for us. There's no way that we can interact with 5D and have it make any real sense. Because in 5D, they have access to all timelines. They have access to the past, the present, and the future. They have access to all physical points in 3-dimensional space, which means they could choose to, if I'm a 5th dimensional being, I could choose to appear in 3-dimensional space-time and be in 10 places at once. I could appear in 3-dimensional space-time and be in the past, the present, the future simultaneously. I could give you a message from 5D. I could give you a message that you would receive both in the past, the present, and the future. You know, we can talk about it, but getting your mind around it is a whole other thing. So, in 5D, if I'm understanding it and what I've experienced, and I'm open to be wrong about it as I'm learning, as I'm experiencing and I'm learning more and more. But in the 5D, you have infinite numbers of potential timelines. So right now in this moment, I am living one timeline only. So are you. And my one timeline will be limited to one timeline based on the choices that I make, the actions that I make. If I decide to reach my hand over, pick up my cup of tea and drink my tea, and there's some toxin in the tea, I've just now drank it and swallowed it, I'm now going to feel the effects. Maybe I'll get sick or whatever, who knows. That'll be one timeline. If I took that same moment and I chose not to drink my toxic tea, then I would go down a timeline where I would be healthy, and then each nanosecond a choice is made that creates a new timeline. But we can only be in one timeline at one point at any time. In 5D, you can be in any possible timeline you choose. However, each individual timeline, and there are infinite, literally infinite numbers of timeline moments available, they are only available as energy. 3D timeline is manifested, physical, concrete, created reality. That's 3D. That is the experience of 3D. We can choose to manifest in our lives whatever we have the ability to imagine and decide to take action towards. Please listen to all of the law of attraction stuff with a grain of salt, knowing that they only have half of the formula. The half of the formula that they have correct is that if you intend or if you imagine a certain timeline, you're rich and you're happy and you're healthy, that is part of the process. But then they stop there. That isn't enough. You have to then make a choice. When you make a choice, what ends up happening is that of the infinite numbers of timeline realities that are available in pure energy, once you imagine it and then choose it, it then solidifies into 3D. And it is now a real thing that you experience that then creates a reality that you will follow. So it's incredibly important that you understand that. Let me tell you what a choice is. A choice is choosing to live in fear. That is a choice. Choosing to be angry. Not feeling angry. You have the feeling of anger come up in you. That's just a response to fear or lack of love or the experience of not getting your needs met or something like that. It's an experience that you respond to emotionally and you have a fear response or you have an anger response. You have the choice to decide how to act on that. The feeling is going to stimulate you and try and push you towards an action, but you actually have to choose to take the action. Bear in mind, I'm not talking about denial. Denial is a choice also. When you say, I'm not going to have that feeling, I'm not going to listen to that feeling is no good, that is a choice. And I'm knowing this because as I'm bumping into 5D, which I'll explain maybe some of my experiences of what's happening, and I am responding out of my human intellect, I am feeling huge negative responses on a physical level. And so it's really teaching me, how we choose to respond, the attitudes that we have. Let me put it that way, an attitude. You have an attitude towards life is a choice. Having a feeling is not a choice. You don't have control over your thoughts. You have some control over whether or not you're going to indulge in thoughts. You have some control over whether or not you're going to try and think something through or figure something out. But in terms of the thoughts that pop up in your head, you don't have control over that. So stop trying to turn your thoughts off. Stop trying to deny your feelings, please. Because thoughts and emotions are energy. And so when you try and deny thoughts and deny feelings, you are literally trying to stick your hands in a meat grinder and stop it. It's going to chew you up. But you do have the choice on what you choose to do in terms of your attitudes, your beliefs, and your actions. And those are all choices. So, here's another reason why 5-dimension light beings cannot, it is impossible for them to be evil or predatory. It is impossible. Because in order to live in the 5D, you must live in a state of eternal, infinite possibilities. The moment that you make a judgment, you then literally take all that infinite energy and smash it into a 3-dimensional experience. This is why human beings are so judgmental. It's part of our survival process because we have chosen to live in 3 dimensions because there is an experience that you can have in 3 dimensions you will never have in any other experience in your entire existence. It can only be had in 3 dimensions. So something is good, something is bad, something is evil, something is righteous, something is spiritual, something is unspiritual. You know, I mean, I was watching myself today as I'm going through my day, you know, going to the store or passing by people, and the judgments that fly in my head. That, you know, that person is this, and that song is so stupid, and who's the person who wrote that song? They're so insecure and immature and all that. And I'm watching that come up, and those are choices. I'm choosing to judge what I'm listening to. I like that, I don't like that. And every time I do that, I'm confirming that I am in 3 dimensions. It's just part of being human. So beings that live in 5D, in order to live there and have control over 5D, it means that they have no judgment, which means they have no judgment of you, which means they have 0 desire to do anything harmful to you. Because in order to do something harmful to somebody, you must live in a finite reality. I'm hungry, I'm cold, I'm lonely. Those are finite realities. So the only time that somebody is harmful to you, like, you know, people want to say that, you know, false beings of light trap you in 3D and then suck all the life force out of you. In order for that being to want to do that, they would have to experience limitation. They would have to experience being lonely, sad, hungry, angry, fearful, intimidated, superior. All of these things are 2-dimensional judgments. So the only beings that do that are 3D and below. Anything above 3D, you do not have any of those negative things going on. And we're just not, I'm not talking about here's the morality of the universe. I'm saying this is, you know, the scientific truth of it. Because by definition, to be living in the 5D means that you live in infinite potential that has not manifested. Now it explains to me why when I've experienced 5D beings, they are unbelievably powerful. That when they choose to put their energy into me, it is of a vibration and a power that I have never felt. And this is coming from a Tai Chi, Qigong, internal martial arts master. I've never felt anything anywhere near that. And that's because of where they live. They live in a 5D space that is 100% energy. And if I understand it right, they can choose to limit their experience to a 4D or a 3D. 4D meaning that they can decide, you know, that they can go anywhere they want in time and space. And they can choose to solidify themselves into a 3D space-time experience with me and you. In order to be able to make that choice and go in and out, it means that they have the ability at any given point in time to go back into infinity, infinite possibilities. But I want you to think about that. So when we're walking through 3D and you want to manifest a better job, more money, more love, better health, right? These are specific possibilities that you are imagining that do exist in a potential state, but they're energy. They're pure energy. They're not physicalized yet. The only thing that's physicalized is what you are experiencing in your 3D reality. If you want to switch timelines altogether, you can do that, But that means that you will have to release all of the choices you've made to create the reality that you're in. And you will have to then open up your mind and your reality to then choose new realities that will then coalesce into a physical reality. So what that means is that in 3D space-time, the most valuable tool you have is Qigong. Qigong is energy work. When you do Qigong, you are literally pulling energy out of space-time into your body and into your mind, into your spirit, into your aura. And then with access to more energy, you are then able to, number one, the energy allows you to release from your past, allows you to release from all of the things that you've been programmed to think and believe. And then it gives you energy, gives you access to the infinite energy of unmanifested potential realities. You can focus on that, focus your intention on it, and then focus your choice and choose it. And when you choose it, it will become a reality. It'll be seamless. You will have the experience of, oh my God, I manifested a new job. But what really happened is you shifted, and you, with your intention and your choice, you took something that was just pure energy and you literally crafted a reality from that pure energy. So once again, I've been teaching the stuff that is most important to me, that has worked the best for me. And as it turns out, based on not only my research, but my experiences lately, it's turned out to be, this is the most valuable tool that we have. So the one thing that you can do to limit yourself in space-time, which is also the one thing you can do which will create and give you the ability to create any timeline you want, is the choice that you make. I want you to think of choice as a contraction. There's expansion and contraction. So we have different, I'm getting ahead of myself here. So I want you to think of choice as a contraction. As you're walking through space-time, imagine that there's nothing in front of you. There's just empty possibility, infinite energy. This is why the void is not empty. It just hasn't manifested, but it's pure potential. In order for you to walk into the future, you actually have to create a space-time reality. Otherwise, you'd just disappear. You'd just cease to exist. You'd be pulled apart and you'd just become part of the ambient energy. So making a choice is a contraction. And you're taking all of this energy and you're contracting it into a physical reality. So we could look at it in terms of, I have my glasses here that I use to drive and to look at television and things like that, because I can see fine up close. But from one moment to the next, my ability to interact with this as a thing in my reality is a choice that's happening on an unconscious level by me at any given moment. Same is true for you. This is inherent in human beings' ability. This is part of our ability just to exist. We are able to continuously contract energy into things. And we've been designed to do that in a way where I'm continuously creating these glasses every nanosecond. So much so that I create the illusion that they're aging, that they're getting older and I have to get new ones, which I have coming in the mail. That is also part of the contraction. So get it? You contract. Expansion. Expansion, on the other hand, doesn't contract anything, which is why 5D beings have no judgment. They have no negative feelings like hate, fear, regret. Those kinds of feelings are very lower level contracting feelings. And they end up actually weighing you down, and they cause, not only do they cause old age, but they cause illness. And as we get closer and closer, as 5D comes to us, the more negative feelings you choose to engage in, the faster the negative experience will be on your physical body. You'll age faster, you'll get sick faster, you'll get emotionally, psychologically damaged faster. So we can't live like, even I was, when I was a kid. The way that we functioned when I was a kid, totally different than the way things are now. The way we function now is totally different. So let's see, where else was I going with this? So, yeah, anyway, I forgot. I was going to go somewhere else, but let's talk about energy again. So now, here's the difference. So I am coming to realize that even the Mao Shan, the spirit fighting, the most powerful energy practice in the universe, that if you do it, you will go through a very deep transformation. For some people, very emotionally and psychologically challenging. But it will not disrupt your physical body. It will allow your brain and your physical body to stay coherent. It's still part of, I guess let's put it this way. 3D, we're just talking about 3 dimensions. 3 dimensions is just being your basic animal human living from your reptilian brainstem. I need to eat, I need to poop, I need to shower, I need to have sex, I need to make money, I need to be better than that guy, I need to watch out for enemies, I need to watch out for predators. That is basic 3D functioning. And as you can tell, there's a lot of contraction in there, a lot of contractive thinking. That's, by the way, why people in the past died so much younger. That's why in times past you had people dying of old age at 40 and 50 years of age. It's because they were continuously contracting with all of these choices based on these reptilian brainstem ideas. Like, in fact, what are those guys called? The Neanderthals. Neanderthals didn't live past 40 something. I mean, we've seen bones of 40, 45-year-old Neanderthals with no teeth, and they're crippled. They didn't live very long because they were constantly living under the threat of predators and fear and other people and other two-legged hominid with spears, and so they ended up dying really fast. One of the reasons that we live longer is that we actually are expanding, even though there's a lot of pressure to keep us as animals with all of the craziness going on. Human beings, little kids, I'm finding kids nowadays. When I was a kid, kids were really cruel. That's what I remember. I remember kids being really cruel. I'm sure there's some cruel kids out there now, but just getting through grade school was really tough. And I'm seeing now when I'm interacting with families and kids, kids are a lot, they just don't have the same nasty edge to them that kids did when I was little. So I'm seeing it in the way people interact with each other. On the whole, people are kinder, nicer. I'm just being honest with you. It could be where the places I choose to live. But I think on the whole, there's some truth to that. That even though the dark force powers that be are putting a lot of pressure on us to try and keep us in the animal mindset, it's not holding, it's not taking. People are moving past that. We are definitely, and I can feel that as I say that. We're getting to the point where people are going to become more, They're going to become more kind. They're going to become more cooperative, more loving, all that kind of stuff. I totally forgot what I was talking about. So in 3D, there are practices that help us in 3D. Qigong, meditation, mantra, any kind of spiritual practice. These expand us from 3D into 4D. This is what I'm seeing. So when you hear about spiritual masters who are able to stay young, or like some spiritual masters who, when they died at age 90, they looked like they were 30 or 40. You hear of Taoist masters who are able to keep their youth, and look much younger than they really are, stay healthier, stronger. This is a result of actually doing energy practices that move you into 4D, which is the control of time. So they're actually able to interact with 3D time better. And so they look better. By the way, just to give you an idea of how we do live in 4 dimensions. For instance, I live in northern Florida. I'm not going to tell you what city, but I live in a city in northern Florida. So you can pinpoint on a map exactly where I live. But that's not enough, because at any point in time, I may leave. I may get in my car and drive. I may go to the beach. I may move to another house. So in another 6 months, I may be somewhere else. So my point in 3D space moves because of time. So when you want to meet somebody, you don't just say, I'll meet you at Central Park, because then you go, when? That's the 4D. So like for instance, I'm going to meet you on the 5th floor of the such and such building on 1st and Maple, on the 5th floor, room 22. That gives you 4 points. It gives you where you are exactly, how high you are, and it gives you the exact point in space-time, and then it tells you the time that you're going to be there. It's 4 dimensions. So we do operate within 4 dimensions. But the energy work that we do, which expands us, energy, when you do Qigong, you inhale, you exhale, you expand your aura. When you're doing any of the energy practices here with the 5 elements and all of that, you are expanding the energy inside of you, which gives you an ability to operate within space-time. You know what's interesting is that people who don't do spiritual practices, who live in fear, one of the things they will say when I say to them, why don't you meditate? They will say, I don't have time. And I've literally had this conversation with people, and I've said, you're telling me you don't have 10 minutes. No, I can't afford to take 10 minutes to meditate. That's because they're living in fear and all of the other things associated, self-directed negativity, insecurity, codependence. And so they literally have no control of time. Time is contracting around them. They don't have enough time. But people who practice energy work, who do Qigong and meditation, they actually have a lot more spare time, even though they're doing the same amount of things. They still work 8 hours, they still go to the gym, they still go to the store, they spend the same amount of time doing the same things, and yet they have a lot more spare time. They have time to sleep, they're rested. That's because spiritual energy practices expand you within the 4 dimensions of space-time. So that's a reason why we should keep doing energy work. We should also keep doing energy work as we go into the 5D, because if you start to do what I'm calling Shamanic CE5, which is if you begin to do, or if you already are doing, human initiated contact with 5-dimensional beings. That's how I'm going to call it right now, because that's what it is. When you do human initiated contact with 5-dimensional beings, what ends up happening is that you actually are shifting in and out of 5D. You may not notice it, but that's what's happening. If you have, the first time I did CE5, I didn't have an experience. I didn't feel anything. My radio went off, and it scared me because something that wasn't around me in my 3-dimensional space had taken over my radio, electromagnetically taken over my radio. And that scared me, but I didn't have any other experience. I saw some strange lights, but other than that, I didn't have an experience. And the only reason that happened was simply because I was so trapped within the contraction of 3D. I wasn't able to see it or experience it. So what ends up happening when you choose to make contact with 5D light beings, when you initiate the contact out of your choice, you first off expand. That's, by the way, why when you hear Dr. Greer talk about it, he says, the only thing that you need is to have an open desire for friendly contact. That's an expansive mindset. And that's why at the same time, he'll say, if you have fear or if you come at it with anger, you won't have an experience. It might not be because they aren't wanting to respond. They may choose not to. But the main reason is because you wouldn't be able to see them and experience them even if they did. Because your contraction, your fear, your anger, your, whatever, negative choices you're making in the interaction would keep you from experiencing anything. So, I'm wanting to share my experiences, but I don't want to get too specific yet because I don't think it's appropriate. But here's what I can say. Every time that I meditate with the intention to go out and find and experience 5D beings and invite them to come into my 3D space, what happens every single time that I do that, and I'm telling you, probably half of the time I have a very mild experience. Like as I'm meditating, I may get the feeling, I may sense something coming into my 3D space. I may even feel a slight shift in energy and, among my chakras. And so I'll kind of go, it sort of feels like I'm getting some energy from them. But, there are some experiences where it's absolutely, undeniable. But in some of them, they seem so subtle that I wonder if I really had an experience or not. But I've done it enough to know that I have to wait at least a few hours, if not 24 hours, to feel the whole brunt of it. That's what happened this last time. This last time, I had a very seemingly mild experience. And here's the thing that really is shaking me. I was given a specific communication, which I don't feel comfortable sharing with you at the moment, but because it's personal and I don't want to get my ego involved. But I was given a specific communication, which of course my brain took and put into words. And if I were to write out the words on paper, it would be like, so that's interesting, good for you, but it's not, earth-shattering. Except that what started happening within a few hours. Within a few hours, I started becoming very sad, even depressed. And I was like, this doesn't make any sense, because there's nothing in those words that I just said that would make me feel that way. And then what ended up happening the next day is I woke up and I started having the same symptoms that I had the first time around, that I had the huge shamanic initiation experience. The whole, the right side of my body started, my ear closed up, and I started having a little pain, and I went, oh, my 3D brain and body is having a very hard time digesting what the real information was. And so I went into meditation and I thought about it, and what I realized had happened was that communication was actually connected to something that happened to me when I was 7 years old. And the sadness was actually something that I had experienced back then, which again I won't get into, because if I do, we'll start getting into this whole weird thing about how time and choice and multiple timelines, and I'm realizing that stuff is not theoretical, it's real. And what happens to me every time I interact with these beings, there's a part of my 3D human being that dies in the process. And if I'm attached, emotionally or psychologically attached to it, it can become very difficult and challenging on a physical or emotional or both, on both of those levels. So what I'm realizing is happening is that I am actually on some level that my human brain is unable to understand. There is a part of me that is actually going into 5D. And when that happens, the human part of me that is in a 3D space actually starts coming apart. And my experience of that is afterwards I have some kind of feeling of sadness. And it always goes back to the sadness of the world is coming to an end. It's just like this feeling of the world is coming to an end. But what's really coming to an end is 3D space-time within me. I'm literally shifting into 5D, but in order to do that, I have to die to, those things that kept me, condensed me, contracted me into 3D, specific 3D space-time. So there's no way around this. If I want to shift into 5D, maybe it's a little different for you than it is for me. But if I want to shift into 5D, the end result is I am going to have to be willing to release as much of the limited human part of me that I can't take with me into the 5D. I've got to release it and let it go. And it starts with anger, fear, regret. Let's see, what is that? Anger, fear, regret, resentment. Those are the most contracting choices. They're not just feelings, because feeling angry isn't the same as choosing to be angry at somebody. Feeling sad is not the same as choosing to feel regret. Those are choices that we make. And those choices contract us into a specific 3D timeline. So, here's my recommendation is twofold. Here's what I'm going to do. I am going to double up on my energy practices. I'm going to double up on my Maoshan and my 3-1s meditations and those kinds of things. I'll keep my mantra practice as it is because that's Kundalini, which is a little different. But in terms of life force energy, which allows me to gain more access over time, and allow me to be to have more control over the 4th dimension in my 3D experience, I'm going to do more of that. I'm going to do more Qigong, more 3-1s meditation, more of working with the 5 elements, all the stuff that I teach you guys here in the Warrior 90-Day Challenge, I'm going to double up on that. Because what I'm going to need as I make this shift to 5D, who knows if I can do it in this lifetime or not, but as I continue to make this shift into 5D, I know I'm going to need to have more flexibility with being able to function in time. I know I'm going to need more ability to be expansive in my thoughts and in my feelings and in my choices. I know I'm going to need more energy, which will allow me to forgive, to release, to to do all that. And I'm doing things like, when I meditate, I will go back in time, which you can do, by the way. I will go back in time to times in my life where somebody has done something, or I perceived somebody is doing something harmful to me that I still have some anger or some hurt over. And what I will do is I will imagine them, not just in the 3D specific time, location and place where they chose to do something hurtful to me. I'm going to choose to see them as they are. They are an infinite light being who lives in the expansive energy of infinite possibilities. And I'm going to forgive them and then choose to see them in their most dynamic, beautiful light being self, where they are in the energy of, perfection. And then if I want, I can imagine them treating me the way that would have made me feel good, because that exists in a timeline in the form of potential energy. And here's the thing. There's nobody that can tell me that I won't actually change that past encounter. In fact, sitting here, I don't even know how many past encounters I've changed if I've jumped timelines. One of the reasons that I had such a powerful transformation a month ago, it was just about a month ago, is that I was doing Shamanic CE5. I was doing human initiated contact with 5D beings. I was doing that on a daily basis, and I didn't realize what I was doing to my 3D body and brain. I was like literally coming apart. And so I started to feel the effects of it, but I had made the promise to you guys that I was going to do a live stream on the 2nd of July. And I did that even though my body was telling me, you need to stop, you need to take a break. I did it anyway because I had made a promise. And what I did during that live stream was I went full bore. I did this meditation, which you can watch. If you go and watch it, you can do it with me. But what I did, which I don't recommend, is I literally took all of the energy from all consciousness that I could imagine, and I focused it on shifting the earth into 5D as soon as possible. I tried to do it in one meditation. So the good news is that I accomplished something, because the very next day, I found out there were changes in policies in places in the world that were impossible the day before. And it was like announced the next day, like absolutely unbelievable, impossible policy changes. And I went, holy crap, this thing works. But then I went into a physical trauma where I was laid up for a week. I couldn't function. I literally couldn't lift my right arm. I mean, the nerves to my muscle just stopped functioning. I thought I gave myself a stroke. Looking back on it, what happened was I shifted the timeline. I was successful. And the things that changed were things that I really wanted, that were impossible at the time, but then magically became possible. And so I was very happy about that. I shifted the timeline. But what I didn't realize is that I have to shift with it. So if I'm expecting all of humanity to shift into 5D, that means I have to completely shift into 5D. And I don't know if I'm ready for that. I have to acknowledge my, my limitations and, and do this in a way where it's, because otherwise, if I kept going like that, there's a good chance that my physical body would stop working. I might be in 5D, but I wouldn't be able to bring my body with me. And, you guys would be, hopefully you guys would be wiping tears out of your eyes talking about that Mahadeva was great and then he left us too early. So, that's a real issue. If I want to stay in my physical body, I have to, I have to be a little more wise about how much 5D energy I put myself into. Because what I'm finding, here's the point. What I'm finding, which is true for you as well if you do this, if you do human-initiated contact with 5D beings, this is going to happen to you as well. You're different than me, so I don't know exactly what it's going to be like for you. But what I'm finding is that 5D and 3D, when 3D comes in contact with 5D, 3D starts coming apart. It starts becoming 5D. 5D can go into 3D in and out just fine. But 3D can't go into 5D and then come back and be itself again, like that. And what I'm finding is that my human brain and my human body are staying put in a 3D space-time location. My experience, probably after the fact, as my brain is telling me what happened, is I'm only getting the information that is able to come through my 3D brain. Which is why all of the information sounds like it's coming from my own voice in my head. Which is why when I see beings or interact with them, I only get this vague sort of outline in my mind's eye of what they look like. And then I walk away going, I wonder if I imagined that. Now, you may have a different experience than me, but this is what happens to me when I do this unaided, meaning just completely sober with my 3D mind and my 3D body. This is the kind of experience that I have. You might have a different experience, I don't know. But what I'm finding is that probably more than half of my essence is actually in 5D. And when the other half of me comes back, it can't bring all that information because I can't process it. But the vibration of the 5D comes back into my body. And then my 3D body starts coming apart. My 3D brain starts going on the fritz. And I start thinking I'm going crazy. I'm starting to lose my, starting to go bonkers. And so I need to make sure that I give myself plenty of time, which, by the way, I'm going to make the announcement now. I had said I was hinting that I was going to do a live CE5 live stream tomorrow. There's a good chance I won't. I will do a live stream tomorrow night, but I don't know that I am physically capable. I'm going to learn from last month when I was feeling like I am now, and I went ahead and did it anyway, and then I almost put myself in the hospital and gave myself a stroke. I'm not going to do that this time to myself. I'm going to honor myself. So unless I just absolutely feel absolutely 100%, totally, reconstituted, there's a good chance I won't do a CE5 tomorrow, but I will do a live stream. So you guys still feel free to do a CE5 if you've been looking forward to it. There is a worldwide CE5 announcement. I'm coming to the realization that Dr. Greer, I think, once a month, like the first Saturday of the month, it looks like, he calls for a worldwide CE5. So anyway, what else? What else was I going to talk about? I don't remember. So if there was something else I was going to say, please remind me and I will talk about it. But having said that, I'm going to leave it at that. Again, I'm going to make the the suggestion that everybody listening to me double up if you can on your energy practice. Some of you are already doing hours a day, so you're fine. Don't do it. If you're going to add another 2 hours to an already 2-hour energy practice, if you're doing the lightning qigong an hour a day, you're fine. Just stay where you are. If you're doing it 10 minutes or 20 minutes, I would say double it. Because you're going to need to have all of that 4D energy in order to be able to raise your vibration in a in a smooth manner so that you can go into 5D. Now, I know not everybody's doing the kind of Shamanic CE5 that I'm doing, and I recommend that people don't do more than they feel comfortable with. Here's the one thing that I've noticed, with the CE5. Once you open that door will never close. Once you have opened the door to the 5th dimension, that door never closes. The 5th dimension will keep calling. So if you feel like you need to take some time off, you go ahead and do that. What'll happen is the 5th dimension will come looking for you. You'll see a ship outside your house, or something like that. You'll have a dream. Somebody will come and start knocking on your 3D door and say, "Hey, you ready for a little 5D?" The other recommendation is do the inner work. Get rid of the anger, the regret, the self-directed criticism, the resentment, the selfishness, the fear. Really do the meditations, do your mantra work, do your 3-1s meditation so you can feel empowered, so that you can stay in that expansive state of mind, because that is what's necessary. All right. Let's take a look if there are any questions. This is a question and answer. If you have a question, write the word question in all caps. Just the word question in all caps. And then I will take a look at, answer your question if I can, and you can share your honest feelings. Let's see. Also, I see somebody through Bone Man threw $100 at me. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Now I can pay my electric bill or whatever. Thank you. I appreciate it. I seriously appreciate the support. The other thing I wanted to say is, before I forget, one of the things I came to realize about the thunder wheel. I don't know if I don't have a picture of the thunder wheel, I don't think, anywhere here. But the thunder wheel is when you work with the 8 directions. So here's one of the interesting things I've found out about this, is that 5D, no, it's 4D. So when you're in 4D, remember you go each reference point, you double it. So the 0 dimension is 1 point, 1 dimension is 2 points, 2 dimensions is 4 points, 3 dimensions is 8 points. And in a 3-dimensional world, you have a 4-pointed reference point in every direction, right? So 4th dimension is, you have double that, which means that you have 8 points of reference around you at any given point. Which means that if you want to have power over the 4th dimension, which is time, work with the 8 directions. When you're doing your energy work and you start at the north and you open up to all of the 8 directions, you are actually you've now brought in the 4th dimension of time, and you now have greater ability to control and work with time. I didn't realize that until I did this research and looked at, how all the dimensions are. And I've always wondered why the 8-sided thunder wheel is so powerful. And I know I've done it without knowing why. I just do it. Now I know why. Because it gives you power over time. It also explains why when I did the spirit fighting, which you work with the 8 directions, you're always moving in one of the 8 directions. Why in physical combat I would always be ahead of the other person. No matter how fast they were, I was always ahead of them. I was always able to get ahead of their movements, their punches, and I was always able to get through their defenses before they could even realize it. I knew what they were going to do before they did it, and they couldn't predict what I was doing. It's because when you work with the 8 dimensions, you now have more control over time. You can slow time down, speed it up, those kinds of things. You can't stop it. You can't get out of the flow of time in the 4th dimension, but you can slow it down if you want, or speed it up. All right, I wanted to get that out because I thought that was really cool. All right, Thundra Gucharan says hello. She is one of my astrologers. Go to thundra.thunderwizard.com to see her. She's actually a very good astrologer, and she's got a bunch of other really cool services that she provides. Thundra, THUNDRA.thunderwizard.com. All right, looking for the questions. Marion Eisenberg, question. Are my cats energetically and emotionally affected by the lightning qigong practice? I don't know. They're not my cats. They're your cats. I think you probably have a better idea than me. Every living being benefits from being in the presence of lightning qigong. Every animal enjoys that. When I've got my energy flowing, people's dogs always want to follow me. I went down to the beach today, and somebody's dog just saw me, and they kept on calling it. And the dog wanted to follow me down the beach. And I think that's probably because my energy was in a good place. So I'm sure that your cats appreciate it and enjoy it. Yeah, Jedi Black Knight's thing is what got me going. It's a Fibonacci sequence. 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8. Let's see. Kim B, honest feeling frustrated that even though I've requested to be notified when videos start, I'm not being notified. So I don't know how to help you with that. I'm sure there's an answer, but I don't know what it is. Io Walks, question. What dimension is the core or gem or source or whatever you see at near death? Maybe the light. That's, what dimension is that? That is probably beyond 5. I don't know. It's definitely not 3 or 4. It's 5 and beyond. Jedi Black Knight, okay, that's not a question. Yes, you're right. Jedi Black Knight 5D is a tesseract. It doesn't sound like the tesseract. It is. In fact, it's called a tesseract. They use that in the movies. And I was going to actually put the link for the Interstellar movie, but at the end of the movie Interstellar, you can go on YouTube and type in Interstellar End. You can watch probably the best 3D representation of somebody interacting in the 5D. I'm sure I know it's much different than that, because the other thing about 5D is the energy. So one cool part in that is that I don't know who it is, because I don't remember the movie. I don't know if it's his daughter or it's his wife, or I think it's his daughter, I don't know. But he sees her, and he sees her in multiple different places, and she's different ages and all that kind of stuff. And he's trying to get her attention, and he's looking through the bookshelf. So he's able to look through the wall of his house where his books are, and he ends up pushing the books out. And then he can see her, and he's screaming at her, and she can't see him. All she knows is that the books fell out of the bookcase. And she goes and picks them up and puts them back, and he's like screaming because he can't communicate with her, because she's in 3D. She can't see 5D. And that really got my brain going when I watched that, because I've been interacting with 5D beings. And what dawned on me is that means that it's impossible for us to interact with these 5D beings unless we make the choice to do so. When you make the choice to do so, when you follow, I don't know if Dr. Greer, I'm sure he does, but when he understands the protocol that he came up with. It's actually a protocol to shift into 5D, or at the very least, you bump up against it. And when you bump up against it, people in 5D can see it. And then you create a portal whereby they can interact with you. But what's going to happen is, for instance, like if somebody in 5D physically touches somebody in 3D, what's going to happen is the person in 3D is going to be jolted with a tremendous amount of energy, which is, if you've had any of these experiences, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Especially when they choose to, like if they really choose to put energy in you, it's just crazy, the amount of energy and the amount of emotions that are in the energy that they give you. So it's not just electrical energy. It's electrical feeling energy that has condensed emotions in it. That's because they are operating on a level that's not in linear time. So that means they could give a lifetime's worth of emotions, in your experience, in just one brief second. And once you've been touched by that, I mean, there's no going back from that, ever. Now, when they touch you, sometimes you won't feel anything, but you'll find a day later, 2 days later, a week later, your entire being is completely shifted. You may have a huge experience of energy, you may not have any at all. But I guarantee you, your entire energy body will be completely shifted, because when they look at you, because in that movie, he's looking at whoever it is, I can't remember. Somebody tell me, his wife, his daughter, I can't remember who it is. In one moment she's 35, and the next moment she's 12 years old, and it's like at the end of 2001, A Space Odyssey. You know, he's constantly seeing himself at different ages. They didn't realize it, but the end of 2001, A Space Odyssey, is he went into 5D. So if you want to know what it's like to do Shamanic CE5 every day, watch the end of 2001: A Space Odyssey. You know, that's what it's like, because you're being expanded, you know, faster than you can tolerate. So you feel like you're going crazy. But so understand that 5D isn't just like in the movie where there's all these different, you know, dimensions that he's looking at. It's also, you would be at a level, the energy level would be, I don't even know what the amount would be, but the energy level would be crazy. Now they may be comfortable with that amount of energy. It feels good. They have this level of bliss within them. But when they touch you with 5D energy, your limited 3D body and brain gets infused. You're part of that 5D. That 5D stays within you. Never goes away. That's been my experience. I don't know. Anyway, I don't know what got me on that. So Felicity 5, please, I want you to understand that, okay, you did it later, never mind. What if after choosing and manifesting we doubt, regret our choice? Why would you want to live like that? So, first off, Felicity, your question has an assumption behind it which is inaccurate. So let me relieve you of the fear, because there's a fear in that question. What if I make the wrong choice? Something bad will happen. You're operating from the assumption that your soul doesn't know what's best for you. So when we're talking about manifesting, let me be clear. My definition of manifesting is a conscious choice to listen to your soul and manifest that which is best for you and for all consciousness. So the truth is, we're manifesting all the time. When you lash out at somebody, when you get drunk or spend all your money in Vegas, those are choices that create manifestations. But usually when people talk about manifesting, they are talking about manifesting what is best for them. So if you're asking me, what if I make a choice to manifest something and I regret it? Your assumption is that your soul doesn't know what you need, and that's not the case. Your soul knows exactly what you need. So all you have to do is listen to your soul, and again, if you don't know how to do that, go onto my YouTube channel page, the thunderwizard.com YouTube channel page for me, and go to the playlist and watch the videos on the Shamanic Secret Commandment to a Perfect Life. Or get the book at Amazon or courses.thunderwizard.com. It's a cheap little book, and if you master that book, you will never have to ask that question again about what if I manifest the wrong thing. Because you know, it works out really great because joy is a beautiful feeling. So once you've done it and experienced it, you want to keep doing it. So you'll never have to worry about it. Did I make a stupid mistake? Let's see, should I hit myself in the head with a sledgehammer or should I eat this nutritional green drink? It's not a tough choice. Once you hit yourself in the head with a sledgehammer, you realize that's a bad choice and you don't do it again. So I hope that answers your question and gives you some freedom and makes you feel better. Felicity 5 question. What if after, okay, thank you. Question 2, Felicity. What's the relationship between law of attraction and law of assumption? I don't know. Did I say something about law of assumption? I don't remember if I did. But if I didn't, then I have no idea what it means. Law of attraction. Here's how I'm going to answer your question. What is the relationship between the law of attraction and the secret commandment to a perfect life? The law of attraction isn't a law. People have called it a law. You've been told that the law of attraction works, but it doesn't. The only time the law of attraction works is when somebody is choosing to think and intend about something that happens to align with their soul desire. In other words, they're thinking about something that gives them great joy, and they feel so connected to it that they then start to take actions to fulfill it. I was, again, watching all this stuff. I came across somebody who was talking about the fifth dimension, and he actually had really, really great things to say. And then at the very end, he gave me this, this typical law of attraction half-truth, which is you manifest your most dominant thought, which is nonsense. I'm screaming nonsense because how many of you listening to me aren't, myself included, much of the time filled with a lot of really negative thoughts? If what that person is saying is true, everybody would be dead with every kind of disease full of bullets. Because it would mean that if you had a really strong fear or a really strong negative thought, you would manifest it. And listen, I can't even tell you how many negative thoughts go through my brain on a daily basis, and they don't get manifested because I don't take action on them. I take action to the best of my ability on the things that I know are associated with my soul. I know, because I've done the work, to know what it feels like to connect with the joy in my soul that tells me which direction to go. I have to keep reminding myself. I keep teaching myself the same thing I tell you guys. So, sorry if you get tired of hearing me repeat it. I have to repeat it on a daily basis so that I remember it and keep doing it. So the law of attraction doesn't work because if you just focus on a feeling and you generate a feeling, that does nothing. Because remember, in 3D, what actually creates your physical reality is a choice. You choose, you have a feeling of anger, let's say. And then you go, wow, this is a really ugly feeling. I'm going to choose to forgive this person. You can still be filled with anger as you say to the universe, please give me the ability, what was it that I was afraid of? What was my selfish part in it that I'm now angry about because I didn't get what I wanted? Show me how I'm not seeing them as a perfect person. Show me how I'm judging them and limiting them. Show me my negative part, because you can't be full of anger about something somebody did to you unless you yourself also have those same feelings. You think you're the victim, and perhaps you were. They did it to you first, but you chose then to buy into that. And then you probably kept it going by, you're with a husband who doesn't love you, doesn't want to have sex with you, and cheated on you. And instead of saying to yourself, wow, I deserve better than that. Sorry, I love you, but we're done. You kept on trying to force him, and then you got a hold of his phone, and you're looking at, is he watching porn, and what's that girl's number? And then you spend all day thinking about him, and then you stalk him, and then you say mean things, and then you cheat on him, and then you want to say, well, yeah, but he started it. So you had a choice. When they did that horrible thing to you, you had a choice to go, wow, I deserve better than this. I'm going to leave. I'm going to do my best to work through the pain and forgive this person, and I'm going to find somebody who loves me. And whenever you hear about women who say, always choose the wrong guys, you'll find out that, and they'll talk about how this guy did all of these things to them, and there was one time, after the first time they did it, you could have left and you didn't. Same thing with guys, not just women. Guys too. I know, because I was there. I did all of that. I was married to a woman that was horrible for me, and I stayed, and I could have left after the first week, and I didn't. So this idea that, anyway, the idea is that your choices create your reality. So it's not just about the law of attraction where you have this feeling or you have this thought and you try and keep that feeling and thought alive in the hope that something on that level will vibrate towards you. That's just not how it works. It'll stay an idea. So for the people that the law of attraction works, these are people, when they get a happy feeling, they, at the very least, on an unconscious level, start taking actions on that every single day. Whereas then there's the other people who sit on the edge of their bed and they had a happy feeling one moment about, oh my God, I want to be a ballerina. And they get really happy about it. And then they sit on the edge of their bed waiting for, the New York Ballet Theater to knock on their door and say, hey, we were just thinking about who we needed to be the next, prima ballerina. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, a piece of paper with your phone number and address came to us, and now we know it's you. You attracted us. It doesn't work like that. Even if you manifest things out of thin air, it's because you chose. So you're sitting on the edge of your bed thinking about, I want a better life, and you come up with this feeling of, I want to become a ballerina. You then hold on to that feeling and you choose, you say, I'm going to do this. And then you go take the actions. And then when you no longer feel inspired and you can't drum up the feeling, you've taken a bunch of actions that now manifest. You've made choices that manifest your reality in front of you. It's really important to understand that. So if you're asking that question, it means that you haven't read my book or watched my videos of the Shamanic Secret Commandment to a Perfect Life. I'll write it down. It's probably the most important book that I have. If you master what's in that book, you will never have to worry about anything in your reality again. Just to say that, I'm still mastering it. So if you can master it before me, I will take my hair off to you. Secret Commandment to a Perfect Life. You can find it on this channel. You can find it on Amazon. Go looking for it. Let's see. Alan H. threw down $20. Wow, I'm really appreciating that. I must have done something recently in a positive way. Thank you for the donation here. Alan H says, wait, first let me get past some things. People said some other things. I'll get to Alan in a second. Please be patient. Jedi Black Knight, honest experience. I've been doing the advanced Hool breath and I keep getting flashbacks of forgotten memories, some of which are things I regret doing and feel guilty about. So you're telling me that you are getting into greater 4D by doing the Qigong. That's my experience also. Nella Nelly, honest feeling. I'm excited to experience the energy healing. I sent you an email. Yes, you did. Just before I did this. I will respond to that when I get off of this. If you don't hear from me tonight, remind me in an email tomorrow and I'll send you the information of how that all is going to work. Alan H. Question. Do you have any insights on silver's use as spiritually active metal? I don't. Sorry, I don't have any knowledge on that. Some say it can help reach out of 3D limits. Yeah, I can't talk about something I don't know, and I have no knowledge about that, but that sounds very interesting. Maybe that's where people get that, the idea that vampires and werewolves can't tolerate silver. Maybe that's why. Because werewolves and vampires, actually what they represent is actual real humans in deep, dark, limiting, feelings and choices. And so they represent that. The lower vibrations are all those negative things. So maybe silver has something to do with that. Maybe that's where that came from. Vincent.thunderwizard.com says hello. And he has a website, which is vincent.thunderwizard.com. He is also one of my Vedic astrologers, along with Thundra, and he has a bunch of other things that he has on his channel. He's got a YouTube channel. Go check that out. Anyway, I'm seeing myself kind of, I don't know what it is. Maybe I need to get something to boost the signal here or something. But I hope that you guys are able to hear me. I hope I'm not cutting out too much. Let's see, what else? I bet you I know how I can reduce that. Let me get rid of this and this. That should probably make things easier on my computer. Dylan Thomas, honest question. Is there proper ways to use incense and burning sage? I don't know. I think when it comes to that, since I haven't been trained in how to do that, if there's a way to do it or not. So if you're asking me the proper way, I'm not aware of one. Maybe there is one. I think the only thing that matters is your intent. Your intention is to use this to cleanse your space. I think that's all that matters. Timothy Zoll, honest feeling, some of this reminds me of 12-step stuff. When I have negative thoughts, etc., I take contrary action. Well, that's because that's the reason why the 12 steps work. The 12 steps are the most revolutionary, most powerful way to shift your brain chemistry, which is why, drug addicts and alcoholics, hopeless drug addicts, alcoholics, and sex addicts, and, other kinds of addicts, why the 12 steps have changed their lives when nothing else would, is because that is the most powerful way to shift your brain chemistry. So there is literally nothing more powerful. You want to know the most powerful thing? Drum roll. The single most powerful, useful tool in the world is contrary action. Having the discipline to act in ways that are constructive when everything inside of you is telling you to do the opposite. That stops the whole universe. The most powerful God in the cosmos, the most powerful 11th dimensional being, when you act contrary to all of your thoughts, feelings, motives, stimulation that's taking you in a bad way, and you act opposite of that, literally everything in the universe goes, what? And they watch what you do. And they rush to empower you. The most guaranteed prayer that will be answered. The most guaranteed prayer is when you reach out to whatever being or not, even if you don't have a being, and you say to the universe, please help me to that thing you know that you can't do. Please help me. Everything rushes to help you. You have to do that every day. But there's a reason why it sounds that way, because the 12 steps are phenomenal. Okay, so Felicity was helped by what I said. I'm happy to hear that. All right, so I don't see any other questions here. So I'll fill up the time a little bit in case there's any more last minute questions, and do the business here. So thank you all, those of you who contributed financially to this live stream. I'm gonna have to wonder what I did to make that happen, but I'm grateful that I did. And I'm grateful that people got something out of whatever it was I was saying. My mission in this life, I now know, and I feel that as I say that, I now know exactly why I'm here. It's taken me almost 59 years to figure out exactly why I'm here. Now I know. I am here to give people techniques to shift into 5D. That's the reason I came here. All of the stuff I teach, these things that I teach on here, and the free stuff on this channel, as I've said many times before, were things that were forbidden to be taught to the public. And I started teaching them, knowing that I was going against the wishes of my teachers that I was no longer working with. And if they had found out, they would have been very upset. And I chose to do it anyway. I didn't know why, but I started teaching, especially this stuff, the Mao Shan stuff. I started doing that going, wow, if my teachers 20 years ago knew that I was going to teach this, they wouldn't have taught this stuff to me. And I just couldn't escape the feeling that the world needed it. So I started teaching it. And then more downloads started coming to me. The Hool breath, a bunch of other things started coming to me. And so my reason for being here is to give people the techniques needed for the human race to move into 5D. Not that I'm the only person doing it, definitely not. So if you want to take advantage of that, I now know exactly why this stuff is here. Go to thunderwizard.com, subscribe to the Warrior 90-day Lightning Qigong. You can unsubscribe whenever you want. Go to courses.thunderwizard.com. You can see all of my books, all of my services, all of my practices, my all the teaching, all of that. You can go see all of that stuff there. If you want the highest level stuff that I can so far give to people, it's this maoshan.thunderwizard.com. All right, I did that not only to keep the lights on, but also to see if people had any questions. I didn't see any questions come up. Vincent.thunderwizard.com, honest feeling, I'm grateful to have found a sponsor. I also had my first acupuncture. Yes, I got your messages, and congratulations. And I'm Vincent, again, as cheesy as it sounds, Vincent is one of my apprentices, so we had a session. As cheesy as it sounds, I am very proud of you, but not only am I proud of you, you're an inspiration to me. You are one of those people who acts in takes contrary action. And you're one of those very diligent, very disciplined people that just keeps going. And you may not see it, I'm sure you've seen some of it, but the amount of progress you've made just in the short time that we've been working together has been really quite inspirational and phenomenal. And I'm sure it's just the beginning. So I want to thank you for that and allowing me to be a part of that and to see that. And yeah, keep it up. Dylan Thomas, honest question. Any CE5 advice to stabilize immediately? No. Let's see. I take that back. The Hool breath. Do the Hool breath. You know, I gave a mantra a couple of days ago for the Naga, you know, thing, the Naga Day. I forget what it's called, Naga something. And the Shiva mantra, Om Namah Shivaya Namo Nageshwaraya. That's a good one. But any mantra will help. Because if I'm reading you right, let me see. You say question explained. When one of 4 daughters wakes up upset, all under 6 years old, and I've been interacting unknowingly CE5, I feel so disoriented and there's no time to meditate. Whole breath, pose. I did watch a lot of step-by-step videos. Okay, so, well, that's a whole different thing. I live alone, so I can be out of sorts for long periods of time and it doesn't mess with anybody. So since you're asking my advice is to really plan it out. So if you know you're going to do it, like now, I'm limiting myself to the best of my ability. Sometimes I just can't resist. Because if I do too much, I'll usually regret it. But then the awarenesses that end up coalescing inside of me are just unbelievable, and I can't wait to do it again. So I would recommend, since you have kids and you have responsibilities, you have a responsibility to them first. So I would say do it once a week, find that one day and that one time, make sure you give yourself plenty of time to prepare, and then give yourself plenty of time afterwards. Give yourself at least 6 hours to come back into your body so that you can function again. Do it before you go to bed and then sleep, and then something like that. Because you owe it to your kids to be there for them, and it's not their fault that you're all flipped out because half of you isn't in your body right at the moment. So that's what I would say. Plan it out, and do it. Be more responsible about planning it out and making sure, make sure that your wife is there or your babysitter or something like that, so that you can focus on doing what you need to do to take care of yourself. Vincent.thunderwizard.com. Honest feeling. I'm grateful for my progress and I'm starting to see it all and feeling better. Good for you. All right, that's it. No other questions. Again, thanks to the sponsors for this evening, which are Alan H. and Boneman 538. They threw down a combined total of $120, which I think that is the most I've ever gotten in one. I watch some people's live streams and they just $50, $10 and think, oh my God, that person just made rent in one live stream. If I can figure out how to do that, I'll be pretty happy about that. Anyway, thank you very much for that. And to everybody who also, they didn't do it on the live stream, but we've got plenty of people who are subscribed to the 90-day challenge, and I've got other people who support me through services. You are just as valuable. My apologies, I don't have all of your names. You know who you are. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. All right, that's all that I've got. Thank you guys for being here. And as always, I have ever increasing love for each and every one of you. And as is my way, I am one of those teachers that I love you so much. I'm willing to tell you things even if it's challenging. I don't think I was challenging tonight, but if I did or said anything that was hurtful or offensive to anybody, even if I wasn't in my most highest vibration, know that my intention is always to help everybody I possibly can whenever possible. So thank you so much, and I love you all, and I look forward to seeing you all again tomorrow. As I said, I probably won't do a CE5 tomorrow, But still, send me some positive healing energy. Who knows? Anything can happen. That's it for me. I'll see you guys all later. Take care.